Hello, hello, everyone. Today is July 23rd, and you are in the midst of NuPath's Unity Forum, virtual Unity Forum. And this is the time each week that we set aside to pause and reflect upon the people in our community. These are staff, these are members, stakeholders, other experts, and elected officials that we invite to come in where we just think about the human side of everything that we're going through in this historic pandemic. And we've been doing this now since this whole thing began back in March. And this week we are welcoming some 50 odd people. I see the counter climbing, and that probably will be getting close to 100 before we're fully into this. But I'm going to jump into things right now because we have a special guest with us. Her name is Kelly Lawless. She's the regional director for the Department of Developmental Services. Kelly began her career. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, this is the awkward part where I have to say nice things about you, and you have to sit there and listen with a strained smile, and
Boy,
maybe you're not used to hearing nice things about you. I did not know you were from Texas originally. I think you told me that maybe the last time we talked, and that's where you began your career after you graduated from Baylor University. You got your undergrad, your grad degree in social work. You came out here in the year 2000. According to your bio, and you began working as Metro North Area Director in 2002. Now, the first time I ever really remembered, because we didn't do a lot of work in Metro North, North Shore area office, and so I hadn't worked really like frequently with you. But the first time I remember you sticking out in my mind is when I heard you describe yourself as a radical community inclusionist. You remember that?
I do remember that very well, yes.
And you get big props for authoring or for the execution or the development of the Blueprint for Success, which was a huge thing in Massachusetts, where it was saying that we as a state value the importance of work, one person, one job, paid by the employer. You were so so radical about insisting, and I remember having at that moment just so much respect for you because you knew all those people from Institute for Community Inclusion, Margaret Van Gelder, and all that group, and they've been working on supported employment, and then you became the regional director. After 10 years or so as the area director, or I might have that a little off, but and in Massachusetts, in the state system, I mean, regional director, it's a pretty important job. I mean, let's face it. How big's your budget for all of the agencies that you manage in the North Shore?
Oh, I can't believe you're putting me on the spot with this one. And
I'm sorry. No. Only because I know that Greater Boston, it tends to, there's a lot of resources there, and there used to always be complaints. Mandy Chalmers was your predecessor; she was there forever and ever. And I remember sometimes there was complaints about how Region 3 didn't get enough, didn't have as many of the resources. I didn't know how true that was, but it's huge. I mean, it's a massive amount of money, more than any agency has to run, and you have to somehow keep track of all of that.
Yes, I do. It is. It's a very large budget. We have 5 area offices. The statewide, we're over $2 billion organization at this point. So you can only imagine that divided by the 4 regions. So we're at least at over almost $1 million. Almost. What I'm saying.
I would say probably 500 million. I would think. I mean, I don't know how big it is because we've got central. For those people that don't know, maybe we have the central area. We have Central West. I think it's now one. We have the Southeast, and then we have Metro West. I think it's
just Metro. It's just the Metro region, so it covers Boston, Metro West, those areas, and then the Northeast.
And you stepped into that role as kind of the new kid on the block because the other regional directors, had been there for a while, and you went through a time of tremendous reorg, and the area directors that had been there all kind of exited. Nothing to do with you because you didn't come into the position for another year or two or something, but it was part of the early retirement for the state and everything, and so you had to fill the area director positions. And even though I didn't know you well, I knew you were smart because I'd heard you talk about things that that I agreed with. So therefore,
That's right. Makes me smart when we're aligned. Yes.
no, but you just got it. And I thought, that's the kind of person we need as a regional director. And I've been very impressed with your strong interest in making sure that the expectations are consistent, that the mandates that come from from the commissioner or from you are consistently deployed. You began regular meetings with all of the different providers and really starting to get some momentum with some things during a time when the economy was booming, and then wham,
Yes.
pandemic. What
Yes.
has it been like for you since this happened, and how I guess how surprised were you, prepared, like how did you how was it like, what was it like for you in the beginning and going into this thing?
Yeah, it was, I'll tell you, it was I've never experienced anything like it. I hope to never experience anything like it again in my lifetime. It was probably one of the most challenging things that we've ever faced because we didn't understand what was happening. We didn't understand how to control this. It hit us, and it hit our region in particular. If you noticed in the statewide map, the Northeast in general of the state got hit harder with COVID cases
Yeah.
than anywhere else in the. And our service system was no different. So we had a tremendous amount of positive cases that happened very quickly. I think within 2 weeks of it starting, we were already in the hundreds to 200s every week. And at our maximum, we hit over 300 cases in one single week, a 7-day
Oh,
period. So, it was really, you're trying to figure out what to do on any given any given day. You're trying to kind of respond and shift and pivot. And, you're working in a state system that doesn't shift and pivot very easily. It's like,
no, it does not.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was challenging. I think it really became very overwhelming because you listen to the information, and I think we see this even in the country. You hear don't wear mask, or here's the things to do to stop it, and so you try to respond to that and work together with the provider community, and it just didn't seem like we were making a difference, and it just felt very defeating for the longest time, not knowing how to stop this and how to really protect people. I'll tell you, the one thing that I think really made it manageable to get through that was the fact that I had strong partners in the community, in all of the providers that we work with, in your agency in particular. We've worked really hard over the years to establish a good collaboration and a partnership, and that foundation, I think, helped us weather this storm. And I feel like we're in a good place now. And if it comes again in the fall, as they're predicting, I think we're going to be in a much better place to weather this.
Kelly, not only do you have the responsibility of managing the state system and trying to understand, where, how to, just how to manage this, but you're dealing with all these different providers. Now, you talked about it in a very, see, you're good at your job because you know how to say things nicely. I don't always do such a good job, but I would imagine sometimes handling all, and I was handling, but all of the different agencies that you fund throughout the North Shore must be hurting, like hurting a bunch of cats sometimes, because CEOs tend to be, well, let's just say they tend to think they know the right way to do everything most of the time, and sometimes they've got big egos, and you've got to try to coordinate a response that is consistently deployed throughout. And I know it was successful because of the way that we were able to flatten and then really see positive trends in our area. Not to mention all of the testing that you helped coordinate, because I still believe that's so fundamentally important. But what was it like to try to manage, or to try to coordinate your efforts from so many agencies that maybe were doing things a little differently? Everybody was handling their policies a little differently. What did they make staff quarantine for how long did they get paid? All of that. What was it like? Was it a nightmare?
It was challenging, no question. And I think, you know, I approached it from the perspective of we're all trying to do the best and do what we can. And I knew early on that we needed to have ongoing, consistent communication because there was so much information that changed so quickly. So I started very early on, and I don't know if you remember, doing weekly calls with all of the provider community so that we could talk about what we knew was happening, answer questions, and try to get people on the same page. And what I found is, for the most part, because people really did want to do the right thing. And you're right, everyone took a different approach. And the approach that you guys took, that NuPath took in terms of very quickly identifying and then isolating and moving people out of your homes was a very creative and innovative idea. You're one of the few in the state that did that, and it was incredibly effective. So what I tried to do is, rather than get in the way of what providers were doing when they thought it was the right thing, is I tried to walk them through that. I tried to understand, talk through the different ways of looking at things, and then coming to agreement on what made sense, and then trying to support you guys. But I thought communication was critical, and we still do those weekly calls, even though we're in a little bit of a lull, because I think the communication is absolutely critical. That's how we can try to be on the same page. And I agree with you. I think testing is one of the most important things. And in this region in particular, we've really tried hard to have testing available at least every other week, if not more frequently. So.
You are, how many service coordinators, just a rough guesstimate, do you think you have in your 5 areas across Region 3? These are state workers that are, I mean, are we talking hundreds? Would it be hundreds or?
We're probably looking at about 125 to 150 service coordinators in the Northeast region.
So all of a sudden, boom,
Gone.
they can't come into work, or they're advised to stay home while we're trying to figure this all out. You've got you know, all of the population that they're responsible for managing and coordinating services. You've got the ISP that's got the strict, you know, timetable, you know, for CMS and, you know, whatever else. It has to be just right. And all of the service coordinators have to work from home. How did you manage that aspect of it? Did you find it easier than you thought, or is it still something you're trying to figure out?
I think it's something we're still growing into. In the beginning phases, it was really challenging because the state was very behind in our technology. So service coordinators did not have laptops. They did not have cell phones. So when they were working from home, they really had access to very limited information and very limited systems. So what we tried to do is we tried to do weekly calls with all the service coordinators on a regular basis, at least once a week. Their supervisors met with them daily to kind of review what they were doing. We asked, and I know for some providers and families, it maybe got a little bit overwhelming, because we did ask that they reach out to families and providers weekly if you kind of check in what's happening and what's going on. So that was kind of how we managed that, and then really bringing all of them together on a regular basis to kind of funnel that information up. But we thought it was important, especially in the early days, that we're reaching out to those families and to providers to say, we're here. We know this is a crazy time, but we're here for you if there's anything that you need.
You probably come to realize in your career by now that you're just never going to please everybody. Have you found that to be true?
No, I please everyone all the time.
And I remember early, this is like within the first, I don't know, month or so, and I was in, probably shouldn't even say, but I will. I was on the ADDV board call, and I remember listening to some of my colleagues. And the first one would say, "Well, what are those service coordinators doing anyway? They're not doing anything. They're just, you know," and our staff are having to come in, you know, harm's way and so forth. And it was true. I mean, we had staff that were working with people that had tested positive for COVID and trying to figure out like how to, you know, do all of that. And then there was the whole that hardly that out of that statement. And then I heard, and another thing, they keep calling the houses every week.
Right.
Don't they realize our staff have more important things to do? Dudes, you know, this is like, you know, we want them to know that they care about what we're going through. And I think a phone call once a week isn't that invasive, you know, that it should be stopped.
Right.
Okay, so now we're starting, we're using the data. We've got the 6 core, you know, the 6 things that we're following on the dashboard. We are now in the process of trying to figure out how to open our day programs. We have all these families with people at home, people that are not doing well. In some cases they are, but in some cases they're decompensating. And so and I think you've got a couple of agencies that have already opened, you know, to partial degree. We're trying to finalize our plans and ramping up. And I believe a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, Ted and maybe Dan Lannon presented to your region, you know, what our plan was. how do you feel? Like, do you feel confident that we're thinking of the things that we need to think about in order to bring back people safely, so that we're not going to, the last thing I want is for somebody at this point to get sick and God forbid die, as a result of COVID. Where do you stand on all of that?
So I do. I think that you guys have done a really nice job and a very comprehensive job at looking at every potential aspect. I think that there's a huge risk in this. No matter how well we've planned for this, there is a risk because we're bringing people together and there is a possible exposure and there's just no way we're going to stop it. And so I think that having the plans in place to make sure that we're minimizing that risk, we're minimizing the potential exposure, and then we also know exactly how we're going to react when there is that exposure, I think are the critical bedrock of what we're going to be doing to move forward. And I think that you guys have done a really nice job in kind of having a very detailed, comprehensive plan. But for me, after having gone through these months of cases after cases after cases, people getting really sick and deaths, this reopening scares me to death. It really does.
It scares me too. I noticed in your call the other day, you are now going to be collecting data on two additional factors. One is whether or not the person had gone home to be with their family, if there's a positive case, because we have to report all positive cases to you, and one of the reporting. And the other one was if they had gone back to the day program. And so this is another way that you're trying to use data to really measure our sort of what incremental steps forward, right? We're going to do these things and then we're going to see what happens, right? It's like, putting the foot on the gas pedal, but then putting it on the brake if need be. Is that sort of how we're thinking about this?
That's exactly how we're thinking about this. And if you look at how we started with our visitation, I know it was a really challenge for the families and the individuals not to be able to see their loved ones for such a long period of time. And when we finally started that, it was very, very gradual. It was so limited. It was just outside. And we waited a few weeks to see how that responded. We didn't see any major spikes. And then we moved kind of to the next step. So that's absolutely a piece of what this data collection is going to help us do, is to see how we're doing and can we move forward. But the other thing that it's going to do is it's going to help us identify very quickly when we start to get a little bit of a pop-up, so we can immediately take the steps that we need to try to minimize that and tamp it down so that it doesn't become wider and more rampant.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, and I think I heard some echoes of this in your meeting, that we believe that there are risks to people staying home and being trapped at home without socialization, without access to friends, just and so forth. Families that have to get back to work, that may be suffering because they've got a son or daughter home. So there's that whole issue. Of course, COVID is the main thing that's worrying all of us. But in a way, it's kind of it's like we're trying to seek some balance, right? Because we know that there's going to be risks, just as there's risk in life. You can't set foot outside your door and not have some risk of something catastrophic happening to you. It usually doesn't, but you could. And so we're trying to balance the risk of catching COVID, starting to spread or having to shut down and quarantine people, against the risk of all of our families that some who may be suffering, that are struggling, that this has been a real a real stressor in their lives, and we don't know how long it's going to be till we have a vaccine. We don't know how long it's going to be till that vaccine, once it's found, is going to be able to make its way to everybody that needs it. Now I'm hearing people talking about, there's a growing movement of people saying, I'm not getting the first vaccine. I don't care. When that vaccine's out, I'll be first in line.
Me too.
I am gonna be there because this stuff just sucks. So it's a balance, right? I mean, we're trying to do this in a way that sort of captures everything, like all of our concerns and worries, and yet still we need to move forward.
Right. Absolutely. It is a balance, and it really is. What we're trying to do is to assess that risk for each person, because the risk factors are very different for each family, for each individual, for each provider, for each home. So it isn't a one size fits all. And it's really, I think, challenging the department, it's challenging the state, and I think it's challenging our service system to figure out a way that we can really meet people where they are and address each individualized risk. We've always talked about individualized services. This is really forcing us to kind of take it to that next level.
Because we didn't even get to the whole thing about the virtual programming and how that's just expanded so much of I mean, imagine planning for this landscape. Like, we fell into it, like boom, and we were there. We had to shut programs down. If we imagine if the community had to, if we had to, the industry had to plan for this, we'd been planning for 5 years, and we probably wouldn't have been able to figure it out. Well, I know you've got other and some other commitments. I am so grateful that you agreed to come and be a part of this. And I know our community is as well. I've got so much respect for you. You're doing hard work for us, and I feel that I feel like there's a whole new kind of. I mean, I'm going back to just before you even arrived on the scene, like 1988 or 1989 when I first came. The ISP was brand new, and it was this. We were all service coordinators and providers. We were all sitting around, tables with overflowing ashtrays, and talking about like, all these important things, and then it felt like things had maybe drifted a bit or shifted a bit, and I felt much greater unity of late. Jane Ryder is just fabulous. We and I see your commitment to wanting to have clear communication, consistency, and trying some innovative things. So please don't get discouraged. It's really making a huge difference, and I feel that your leadership and oversight of this terrible pandemic, nothing could have prepared us for it, of course, but I feel that it's that you've been really superb in what you've helped us do. So thank you very much, and
Thank you.
glad to have you back on again sometime.
I'd love to as well, and thank you too. And I just want to commend you and your organization for how well you guys have really managed this. I do think that you've been at the forefront of good practices and kind of leading the community in terms of the best way to handle and respond to this. So thank you, and thank you for your partnership.
Well, thank you so much. All right, take care. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye bye, Kelly Love. All right. Very good. Oh, I love this. It's just so great talking to people, and it's thinking, even if there's, even if there's 50 or 75 people that are watching this, and no more, then that's more than enough, because the people, I am getting, somebody's trying to get into my apartment, and I don't know why, and I may need to pause this for a second. Maybe I'll have Greg take it over for me or something, but I'll ignore it one more time and see if they go away. So next up, we are going to, well, first let me say, I've been there a couple of evenings over the past couple of weeks, and and I have to notice one of our employees, and I love him to pieces, John, who we call him Duke. Now my records here say that he started July 11th of 2005, which would be 60. Hi, Doug. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Great. So I was just going to tell a story about how there's been a few evenings that I've been in my office, and I've heard some activity outside in the hallway, and I realized it was you. And then I realized what you were doing was the special cleaning that we've been telling all of our families that we're going to be doing. And you came into my office and said, "Do you want me to do your office?" And a couple of times I said no because I was in there. But the other night I watched you go into the ladies' room, and I bet I don't even know if there was a single lady that went in that ladies' room all day long. And I said, well, but I thought, well, he probably needs to do everything, even if it wasn't used, because that's the commitment that we're making to keep things clean. And I could not believe how long you were in that ladies' room, even though it couldn't have been dirty at all. And I thought, that is because you are taking this seriously. You are abiding by what it is that you've been asked to do, and that made me feel so good. And I thought, as I walked away, I think it was Monday. Was it Monday evening that you came? You were there, but I said I need to have Duke on the Unity Forum, and I need to like honor him and recognize, because all the families that are out there right now that are worried about sending their kids in, and staff that are afraid to come back, they don't know about our secret weapon, and that's you working behind the scenes. How are you doing? How is everybody doing? How's your family and everything?
Yes, my family and been all right, because I don't want to go out. Okay, I tell them, okay, let's stay home, much safety. I don't want you guys to go home and see a lot of people out there. We don't know who is sick. Okay, that's why we have a trouble on that. Okay, keep the site in her much safety. Yeah, it's all mice and all mice and my children, they want to go out and play. I say no, keep staying
Good.
home.
Good.
Don't go on that.
So your children aren't going to be going to Texas or going to the Ozarks or something, like, on boats and playing around and holiday weekends and everything. You're keeping your kids home.
Yeah.
You guys have older kids, don't you? How old are your kids?
In the old guys in 16-year-old and in the young girls in 8-year-old.
Oh, just 8 and 15?
No.
Who were you working with when you did the floors a few months ago? Maybe it's been a while ago. You were there with somebody. I thought it was, who were you with? When you did the floors?
Yeah, with my son.
That was your son. Well, he
Yeah.
was older than 15.
No, then 16 now.
Oh, he seemed older than that. So you've been with us. When did you first start working with NuPath? Do you remember?
No, that's long ago. It's long ago.
Well, I think you were here before I came. And you know what I remember? You were here in the days when we had the Pacers. Do you remember that?
Okay, then you ask Judy. I and Judy maybe come together. I don't know who good first.
Okay. So
Me
that
and
she's been here. I forget how long, but so you would in those days, you weren't an employee of NuPath, but we would go and pick you up. I don't know the details. Robin Harwood was here, and
Yeah.
you would pick you up in a van of people, and you'd come down. And we called you Pacers because those were the days when we have the sheltered workshop, and you would oversee, kind of supervise that group, and they would help us keep pace with the work. And sometimes we had too much work for our clients to do, so you would help out with that. And then I remember when that all changed, we said, this is the guy we should get you on board officially. So that's what I think when you started in 2005, 2005, because I think you were here before then. But you've been with us ever since, haven't you?
You've been here a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. But I forgot exactly the day, but I know that I've been here maybe ago, mostly 30 years.
Yeah,
10,
it's been a long time.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be kind of cool if you would give us a little bit of a demonstration. We've been hearing about these space age like backpacks that disinfect and spray everything down, get all the germs and viruses out. And I know that's what you go around doing at night, and it doesn't smell that bad. Would you be able to show us a little bit about what your job entails and how you're going to help us keep things clean at the day program, at least in Woburn?
Okay, yes, I do it now.
All right. Okay, we want to see you. Okay, everybody. So this is what he does, and I'm telling you, I saw him coming down the hallway, and he is so meticulous. So if you're a family member watching this right now, this guy,
Yeah, you're good.
if
That's
there's
okay.
a germ anywhere in that room, he's gonna get it. So see the backpack, yep. So Elder, what's he doing? He's covering every surface, every chair, every.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
every table and all the pawn, all the door and have the handle, and all the cabinet have the handle, and
Yeah.
all and we have the sick and any in the shop we talk it. Anyone we can talk. Okay, I do them all.
Is it safe if I'm a mother or father at home and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, oh boy, I wanted to kill the virus, but I don't want it to kill my child. Is there any worry about the actual chemical?
so no, the chemical, not at all. It's a safe chemical to be sprayed, directly on any surface, and it's a quick dry. So as soon as you spray it, there's no need to wipe it down. You just let it dry. 5 minutes later, you can utilize that space again, and it's safe to do so. The only recommendation is, well, as you saw Doug spraying it, he's wearing his mask, he's wearing his gloves, so there's no fear of anybody getting sick over the chemical that's being used.
And Elder, and just see Elder, your face in here. You have been such an important key leadership role. Had a key leadership role in so much of this. I bet you know more about about antiviral sort of mechanisms and keeping things clean and disinfecting than you ever thought you ever wanted to know in your entire life, huh? You probably just want to, yeah. You just.
I never envisioned my career at NuPath going down this path, but
No.
it's
No.
been quite the experience.
I don't think any of us did. I'm sure none of us did at all. You know, Doug, when
Yeah.
I think about you, and you know, we always talk about at NuPath that there's everybody, no matter what your role is, what your position is, you have a role in helping us fulfill our mission. And NuPath's mission is making life's journey happier, healthier, and more fulfilling for people living with disabilities. Well, I can see you now with your mask and with that disinfector doing our mission, bringing it to life in vibrant colors. I mean, who else is helping to make life's journey healthier than you right now and happier if we don't get sick? And you've got such a high standard. I mean, if I hear your name is going to be, if you're going to be working on something, if you're going to be doing something or taking care of a project, I've never seen you cut a corner. You are so um, diligent and driven to just get every detail. And I know that I'm grateful for your role at NuPath, and I'm sure many staff and our clients and their families, if they didn't know before, the guy behind the scenes that was helping keep us safe and healthy, they do now. Because turn around so we can see that backpack, see what it looks like on your back. There you go. Look at that thing. Yeah. Is it heavy?
Yeah, a little bit heavy. Yeah, then when I go all around the building, get sometimes it's like when you pull up over to a little bit heavy.
Do you
Yeah,
have to
not-
fill it? Do you have to fill it like in between, or would that backpack take you all around the building for one application?
So that backpack covers 20,000 square feet.
So the building's 26,000 square feet, so it doesn't quite do the whole, unless you're not doing some of the offices or something.
So
Yeah.
a little bit over one full tank will take care of the whole building.
I gotcha. Oh my goodness. Well, Doug, thank you so much for being with us today. Elder Soares, thank you for joining us and for helping manage all of these pieces. These important. We're like you're like a conductor of an orchestra. We'll have we'll say Duke is the first chair violin or something, because he's really making such an important contribution by keeping people safe. But it's like pulling people together in all the right ways, isn't it? I mean, everybody wants to do something to help, but if there's not leadership to kind of coordinate things in a way that makes sense, then it's just a bunch of noise, isn't it? So we thank you for your leadership, and thank you so much for being here and for everything you're doing. It makes a huge difference for us.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, he's a special guy. I think he's fabulous, and he's been, again, we've got so many of these servant leaders that people that work behind the scenes, are diligent, they don't complain, they just do their job. But without them, our quality of life, it either would vanish or be severely disrupted or compromised in some way or another. And yeah, so when I saw him the other night there, I said we gotta talk to him. All right, so kind of still in the line, sort of with the keeping of reopening, but not really. We're gonna bring in another person that's kind of sits, on a, kind of like a, well, he's part of NuPath, but kind of at a distance in a way, because I'm talking about John Rossi, who is our general counsel. There he is, my friend, Mr. Rossi. How are you?
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for being here today.
Well,
So,
it's a pleasure. It's a
Build the
privilege
drill.
and a
I've got
pleasure.
nice things about you, and force
Go
you to
ahead.
sit.
Don't let me stop you.
Oh wait, no, there wasn't anything. So I guess you're gotcha. I don't know what story to tell about you first. First, let me say this. I met you first in October of 2014. Now, I had become the CEO of NuPath in July of 2013. So this was about a year and 2 months after I become CEO when I met you. We asked you to join the board in January of 2015. And then 3 years later in January, we made the decision that we were going to have you. In fact, you were the vice chair of our board, and you were, sort of positioned to ascend to the role of chair. And I couldn't bear the thought of not having you in such a key leadership position. But then you're an attorney, and we thought that NuPath, with the work we're doing with Navigating Life and so many of the other, and just as we've grown and our business has become more complex, we felt, and you agreed, it may have been partly your idea, that we would benefit from having somebody that would fill the role of general counsel, that would be able to really advise us and be part of so much of our planning, as it relates to the legal perspective. So that's what you're doing now. In the time that you've been with us, you have raised, now, if I asked you how much money you've raised for the organization right now, would you have any guess?
Well, no, but I know one year I was quite upset with myself because I didn't make the club 50 and all, and I said we've got to come back and
Yeah, that
do
was
my
a
best to make that up.
I wasn't sure if I could even look you in the eye again after that, but no, I'm teasing you. You've raised a total of $5,700, well, $5,700.12 to be exact. You've been twice in the club 50, and this year, as of you're at the 13th in line, which I'm probably not even part of the 50 because I never even got started. But still, you'll have that position for a while, and you have watched every town hall, look at that, your certificate. Yes.
That reminds me every day that I've got work to do. It's right here, right next in my home office.
All your rich friends. You live in Lexington. You should know a lot of people that got money they don't need. So you are among the most voracious. You have the most voracious appetite for all things NuPath of anybody that I've ever met. You, when you were on the board, you were such an example for other board members, and then now that you're no longer on the board, but serving in your legal role for NuPath, the way you embrace all the things. The names of so many staff. You know the names of clients. I mean, you really are a part of this organization, and I will never forget the first time I really realized that you were something special was, and I'm going to tell the story because when I saw you yesterday, I said I might, but when way back when you first started, I think it was among the first times that I'd met you. Maybe I'd met you before. I think, were you on the board or you were just getting ready to come on the board? And we had a situation in Westford where one of our workers up there had her hand burned badly in an industrial accident. We had still, in those days, we still had some manufacturing and heat, sealing and packaging kinds of material. And she had her hand caught in these very hot, anyway, she sustained some serious burns. And we were facing the threat of an OSHA audit coming in. And I didn't know much about OSHA audits, except that I'd always been told they were the worst thing you could ever go through. And I said something to you about it. You were like, would you like me to go with you? It was a Friday. And you stopped what you were doing. You met me up there. You walked around. And I cannot tell you how supported and comforted. And it was like having somebody step up for you to defend you on the school playground when you're being bullied or something. Not that we were being bullied, but I suddenly felt like I had somebody in my corner. And that set the tenor for the experience that we've had with you and from you with this organization for these years since. The way you have you just believe so fully in what we're doing. You've been such a valued resource to just so many of our leadership team and staff alike. You've done training for managers. You've been parts of numerous conversations about strategy and dealing with sometimes some challenging situations. And then now this pandemic and all of the confusion, you watch, I don't know how many webinars a day. I think you told me it's at least 3 or 4 a week, sometimes twice a day. And as we've been exploring all this uncharted territory, the PPP loan and the forgiveness factor and so many other things. Having you kind of, there constantly reading, constantly educating yourself, talking to colleagues, having resources to advise us. I just don't know what we would do without you during these times. And I wonder if you just, would talk a little bit about what the experience has been like, and how maybe you think we're doing, from a kind of a somewhat objective, sort of outside looking in, or not really outside looking in, but you've got more of a objective kind of a viewpoint of things, and I know people respect you. What would you say to people about that?
Well, NuPath is one of the most, if not the most special organization I've seen in my 38 years career as an attorney. And I say that without embellishment and without hesitation at all. And I remember the first time I came to visit you, it was in, I think, November of 2014. And I enter the offices and accepted, greeted very, very warmly, and by a receptionist that was just, you could tell pride was coming from her face just as I said hello to her about where she worked and all. And the first thing I noticed is you had a television monitor there. NuPath welcomes John Rossi to visit and all. And I personally hadn't seen that before. Maybe that had been out there with other organizations, but that was just sort of the setting of it. And then Greg came down and gave me a very comprehensive tour of the New Boston Street headquarters and all. And then you and I talked, and I felt seriously, Dan, like you and I were on the same page from the start. And I don't know if you recall, you said to me, why do you want to be on our board of directors? What is it that motivates you to do that? And we had a nice conversation and a lunch and all. And when I left, I said, this is a place that is very, very special and dedicated. And sometimes I see organizations from the point of view of an adversary. Sometimes I'm often representing employees or people that have issues with an organization. And then sometimes I'm advising an organization. And what I noticed about NuPath from the start was that everybody I met at NuPath had a warmth and a dedication and a pride about what they did, about the individuals that were being served, and about the people that worked with them, whether it was their teammates, in the same departments they were with, or whether it was Dan Harrison or anyone in the executive team or otherwise. And I remember the first holiday party that I attended over in Burlington. And I noticed that, a lot of those types of greetings, people will show up. It's almost obligatory. They'll hang around for a few hours, have the dinner and all. And then once the dinner's over and the speeches are done, make their exit. And I noticed everybody was staying there. They were having fun. They were enjoying each other. And I remember you left to give them some time to be alone and, enjoy themselves without the idea that somebody is looking over everything. And they stayed and they were having fun. Yeah. And they were having fun and enjoyed it. And I remember telling you, Dan, this is not something I see often, where you have a team of people at NuPath that have really dedicated and have a chemistry here that other organizations would just give their high teeth to be able to obtain. And it's not something that comes as a matter of happenstance. It comes from, I know I've seen it as I've gotten to know you and your dedication and the message you've seen. And you mentioned I know people by name. And here's an organization with almost 500 employees. And it seems every time I'm with you or walking through a place, you're introducing me to people by name, no matter what they do, whether it's people like Duke, who you just had showcasing earlier on this program, or others, and at the board meetings, people like James Shannons and Kenny and all, and even many of our individuals give a story. And every time I hear a story, every time I see something, I feel, boy, this this even impresses me more about what we do and how we do it. So the reason that I'm always happy and dedicated to do whatever I can to support your endeavors is because everything I see here gives me a feeling that it's going to good use, it's positive, and it's all about our individuals. And when you look at things like over the last 3 or 4 months in all these virtual town halls that we've had and the unity forums and all, I see a lot of organizations would look at, and leaders would look at that as a waste of their time and all. And you see the value to this. And I think the people that work with us throughout this great organization see the value of this. We see it every year when everybody rises to the occasion to do the walk and the fundraising on the walk and the numbers that this organization puts up each year and how they rise and rise and rise. That is not something you can order people to do. That's not something you can just demand of people. It's something that comes from within. It shows the goodness here. I've seen it in the tours that you set up previously to tour the various homes that we've had, and visiting the homes and meeting the individuals in the homes and the people working in the homes and all. There's many organizations that are tone deaf when it comes to how to get that sort of dedication, that sort of culture. And we've only got a few minutes here, Dan. You're asking me to talk about something I could go on for days and talk about.
Well, I want to, yeah, you and I are both. I just should tell the group that there have been times where I have called you on a Friday when I left my office in Woburn and driven an hour and 45 minutes out to Northampton and pulled into my driveway there and I'm still on the phone with you. So we could really, shoot the, caca, as they say. I was going to say crap. I shouldn't think I should swear. One thing I want you to mention, you brought this up the other night, and it's something that I've been aware of, and just in the couple of minutes we have left, you said that you noticed that no matter who's talking and who's sharing, who's whatever story it is that we're featuring, that people so often give credit back to the team that they're a part of, whether this be James Sandon, you mentioned his name, to direct care staff, whoever it is, they will say, well, I'm part of a great team. When I try to congratulate them or give them some positive feedback. And you said that's noteworthy. I think that's noteworthy. And I think that's a very sophisticated kind of nuanced way to be. And it really shows the level that I think so many of our employees are. None of us are doing any of this on our own, and if we seek to capture the credit and the praise, that's just not the NuPath way. We are doing everything we're doing as part of a team, to our collaboration and all of our other core values. But that's something I know you mentioned just the other day, and I said, yeah, you're right. It's true. I've noticed it as well.
Well, I've watched all of the the virtual town meeting, town square forums and all, and that's been a common theme throughout all the fine people that you've interviewed through this, and it's true. I've seen many times, you, and rightfully so, have a lot of great things to say about our team members and our family here at NuPath, but they never just dwell on it for themselves. They never just say, well, thank you very much and all that. They always go beyond that and say, well, yes, and my team members have done a lot for this as well, and it's done all the time, and you can tell it's not something that's scripted. It's not something that people are saying because they were expected to do. As a trial lawyer for all the years I've been a trial lawyer, I think I can figure out when people are speaking from the heart and when they're speaking from a script, and these people are speaking from the heart, and it makes it all that much more special. And it's every day. Every time I walk into any facility at NuPath, anytime that I go to a meeting or just walking down the corridor, that sort of an attitude and that sort of a team spirit prevails. And I see it when you mentioned Lexington. I'll be driving around and I'll talk to Joe Leah from time to time, and I'll say, oh, Joe, I saw one of the NuPath fans, and they'll say, how is it doing? How is she doing? And oh, they're beautiful. They drive well and all that, but you just see it. And you kind of smile and say, "Yep, that's one of our vans. That's
Well,
our
if it was
people."
anybody that knew what you drive, which is a bright yellow, I just know it's bright yellow. I forget the name of the car. It may be that the van driver looked at the rearview mirror and said, "Uh-oh, that's John Rossi behind me. I better make sure I follow the rules of the road because you'd be hard to miss that behind you." You know what? You've got a beautiful family that I feel like I've gotten to know. Your wife Ellie, of course, who is in school, still teaching, or she works for the school department anyway at Lexington. And then your oldest son Robert, and then you've got Mary, who we adore. I adore. She's in Dubai teaching, kind of an interesting family. And then your youngest, right? Austin is the youngest.
Austin, yep.
And who's now with you in your home, and so you're trying to manage that. But I love the way you've included your kids and your wife in various activities. You brought your kids to events, and they've become a part of the family too. And for somebody that in the grand scheme of things, as we've interviewed people over these past however many months, people that have been with us for 20 years and 25 years and 18 years and 17 years, you haven't been with us the longest, but in the time that you've been here, you've become one of the most infused spirits that there is, as far as supporting and being a champion for all of the challenges that we're facing. And as we continue to move forward, trying to ensure our financial stability as we go to the end of the year, things are looking hopeful. I'll say that. I can't get into specifics, but it's it's complex because there's so many different pools of money and there's so many things we're trying to do, and then trying to strategize around. But you've been so helpful in seeing us through that, and I know that if we well, I wish I could say it was my great idea. I don't think it was, but to bring you on as general counsel. But I've never looked back and regretted that decision, because you've certainly demonstrated time over time that it's something that's key and critical to ensuring that we're moving forward in a way that that diminishes risk and tries to manage things in the way that we want it to be managed. And so I'm so grateful that you're a part of this journey, John Rossi, and so grateful for your dedication and your sort of ethical worldview on so many things. I think we're so in sync with the ways that we evaluate certain things, and I've learned so much from you and value you, in your sort of insight and the way you help to. I joke with you sometimes. I'll be talking to you and I'll be upset about something, and you're like, "Ah," you'll kind of you'll be that voice of reason, and then I'll think about it, and then maybe don't do exactly what you said, but you're always you're always served to be a kind of a real strategic advisor to me, and I value that. And even if people don't know you that well, they should. I'm telling them they should be grateful for you, because you bring a lot of value to this organization. And hey, I want to thank you for coming on, and for being here.
Well, Dan, you and your great team and the folks that I work with regularly at NuPath make my job very easy. And all I can say, in all honesty, is keep up the great work. And for the families that may be out there watching this webcast or what have you, I can tell you that it's a labor of love that I see coming from everyone I work with. And I'm very, very happy to do whatever I can in my small way to support this great endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John Ross, for being here, and we wish you well, continued good health. Of course, we'll be seeing you again soon at one of our events. And give my best to your family, will you?
Will do. My best to John as well. Take care, Dan. Good night, all. Take care, or good afternoon.
Okay, this is good. This is good. We're gonna sign off now. I have nothing left to say except you guys rock. I am just continue to be so proud and humbled, if I can say those two words together in the same sentence, to be a part of this organization and to lead a group of people that are as just as committed and just have such high standards for themselves and for others. because this is not the way it is everywhere in all parts of the world. And we see it time and time again. The accolades that come to this organization are because of the amazing work that you're doing out there each and every day. And John Rossi just supported that and believes that with me. I know he does. So we will see you next week. Please, please continue to wear your mask. If you're going to be seeing family or swimming with friends or going to backyard parties, remember everything you do is it carries some risk, and you just need to decide whether or not what you're doing is going to be the risk you want. And we'll get through this. I said to my mother the other day, who's hanging in there, I said, today we are a day closer to this thing being over than we were yesterday. We're certainly closer to this thing being over than we were in March. So we're moving in the right direction. And I know we're going to get through this together. We got this, guys. We have got this. All right. That's it. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.